half of the internet loves and the other one hates MGK, and I'm about to make both really mad. Careful, hot take, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I liked Tickets to My Downfall quite a lot more than any other critic I know of. It had its clear weaknesses, sure, but overall it was way better than what some critics would tell you. So if you're looking for another YouTuber blindly hating MGK because he's different, that's your cue to leave the video. And if you're looking for an MGK fan blindly loving everything he puts out, you're also not gonna be very happy with what I have to say. Let's start with the general vibe and sound. Mainstream Sellout was supposed to be darker in the lyrics and more guitar heavy, and I really wonder what album MGK heard when he said that, because not only is it mostly just as heavy or soft as its predecessor, but the quality in lyrics decreased so much. Lyrics don't automatically get better if they touch darker subject, and all in all, this album is just as much love songs as the last one, just a little happier this time, not darker. The angst is back on some songs, but sounds less convincing this time around, and songs like Emo Girl or Drug Dealer are just... Ironically, I did not see his last album as selling out at all, but this album sounds a lot like he did not write it for himself. With the last album, it was a risk, swapping genres, and while I wouldn't call it a genius move like he himself does, it was definitely new and creative, and while the sound didn't exactly reach completely original territory, it was a good pop-punk album for the most part. Mainstream Sellout, on the other hand, devolved his sound in a way. Of course, none of the songs here are unlistenable local band trash, thanks to a high level of production and Travis Barker, of course, who handled everything, but on the level that he's operating at, a lot of these songs are worse than expected. Drug Dealer with Lil Wayne is the worst song I've heard in a while. The other song with Lil Wayne, I, is not completely terrible, but doesn't work in the context of the album at all, and Emo Girl is another case of a bad song, romanticizing depression and mental illness. This emo girl trope is problematic to begin with, and the way he and Willow pick it up here is really awful. Fake Love Don't Last with Ian Dior has a decent chorus for a teenage romance movie and the appropriate lyrics. Well, I got a dark side too. Whatever. Blackbeard Can't Save Makeup Sex because the song was forgettable from the beginning, and then there's the title track. Mainstream Sellout is MGK on a really cool instrumental tackling his haters in the scene, and when the song started I was really hopeful and wanted to see what he had to say and how he would respond, and then he uses the entire song to just repeat what people say about him? Dude, I'm listening to this for your opinion, I don't want the recap of your comments section. And that's half the album I've talked about so far, with songs that are mostly bad, cringy or forgettable. The other half of the album is on the level of the good things of Tickets to My Downfall though, or even better. The intro is a pretty good tune, not quite as intriguing as title track was for the last album, but it starts us off pretty decent, and God Save Me has some very good guitars and drumming, but the lyrics are off and his autotune use really got out of hand on this song. I sometimes feel like he has ideas for songs and then no one in his team dares to tell him that he can't sing that and his voice doesn't suit that type of song, and then the poor engineer has to try and fix it in post. So many of his songs would work a lot better if he really used the voice correctly, because he does have a unique voice that can sound really good on a pop-punk song, but he gets lost in effects sometimes and that drops the quality of songs like God Save Me significantly. Ollie Sykes from Bring Me the Horizon jumps in though on the third song to deliver something good on Maybe. It's a really good tune if you compare it to the rest of the album. It's a little lackluster for Bring Me the Horizon standards, but it works fine on this album. The interludes also work way better here, or the interlude. It's not as long, doesn't feel as unnecessary, and Pete Davidson is just hilarious. But the thing about jokes, unlike music, is I don't want to hear them on repeat, so just drop them for the next album, maybe. World War IV was my big hope for this album, because World War III was a really good punk song on the last album, but on this album it sounds really similar to the one from the last album, and somehow still worse, but it brings a lot of energy to the back half of the album and is a nice change of pace. Die in California goes more in a rap direction and is one of the good tunes on here. His flow's on point, the delivery of the lyrics works a lot better than when he's going for the rock tunes. The features also work well here, it's a good tune overall. There are 4 songs on here that I would consider really good, and those are The Closer, It's a cute acoustic song that really leans heavy into the guitars at the end, which sounds really good. And then there are Sid and Nancy, 5150 and Papercuts, and those three really feel like an elevation of what he did on Tickets to My Downfall. His voice sounds really good, guitars are raging when they need to, nice chord progression overall. This is what I had hoped for the entire album. I don't dislike this album because it's MGK, like so many other rock outlets will, because again, I really like Tickets to My Downfall, but mainstream Sellout had a lot of potential that I feel got wasted. While it has some good moments, the bad ones and the disappointment over some of the obvious flaws are unfortunately bigger. Mainstream Sellout, therefore, is a weak 4 out of 10 for me. Feel free to discuss with me in the comments in a civil manner, and if you want to check out more music-related content, here you go.